The Honourable Member for Kafinsa.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very grateful once again for allowing me to give a few comments on the motion that my colleague from Lumezi has moved regarding the position of District Commissioner. Mr. Speaker, I want to indicate to the House that under district administration, there's a position called District Administrative Officer. So if you go to Chipata District, you'll find an officer of government called District Administrative Officer. The role of the District Administrative Officer is basically what the DC is supposed to be doing. The District Administrative Officer, Mr. Speaker, is a position of a civil servant. It is not an appointee of the President, but a career civil servant who has risen through different functions until they reach the position of District Administrative Officer. I have started from that background, Mr. Speaker, in order to inform not only the public, but also the House, that if government wants to get work done through central government at a local level, they have a position called District Administrative Officer. Secondly, the argument we should have here, or the conversation we should have here, is a very frank conversation. And I'm calling it a very frank conversation because it should not be about who is seated on the left and who is seated on the right. I have a lot of colleagues that have worked in this position who have shared their thoughts on the functionality of this position. And Mr. Speaker, if you've read the details of the job description that one of the members referred to, the functions of government that have been devolved have not been devolved to the office of mayor, no. The devolution, which is a system of governance, defines which officers should submit reports to the council secretary, who is the town clerk. So if the council is having a committee meeting on a specific day, Mr. Speaker, what will happen is that the district agriculture officer, as an example, will come with a report, and in that report, the DACO will indicate we've distributed so much fertilizer. The DACO will indicate we have opened up the following farm blocks to allow our people to do farming. That's already a central government function at a local level. And that is the district agriculture officer, as an example. Another example is the district education board secretary, Mr. Speaker. The district education board secretary, who we call the DEBS, is supposed to sit in a council committee meeting on education to simply report that the following schools have got the following enrollment. The following school has got the following challenges. That report is recorded. Mr. Speaker, what am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is that currently, there's already an official document of government. And government, what I do know is that in terms of functionality, the Office of the Secretary to Cabinet has already communicated in various circulars. And I think it will be important moving forward, resources allowing, that a workshop needs to be organized on decentralization so that everyone is up to speed with the roles of different local functionalities, so that everyone is able to understand that there's already movement in terms of decentralization and what it intends to achieve. I have 3 minutes, Mr. Speaker, and I'll try to speak now to the office of the DC, what we are discussing today. Right now, there are 116 Zambians who've been employed as district commissioners. The frank conversation which we should all be aware of, and I think we are all aware, is the fact that these are appointees of the president in most cases for political reasons. That's a fact, even in the old days. Those who were appointed as DCs were appointed simply because during the by-election they put in resources, or during a by-election they committed time, or they've worked in the party structures for too long. That's the frank conversation we should have. And this is a fact. Go anywhere in history, time for MMD, time for PF, and where we are today. These were positions where you needed to reward people, and you say, where do we take this individual? They've labored for the party. There will be good eyes for the party in the district. That's how these positions were allowed to continue. Now, if that is the fact which we are all aware of, what we should be discussing is, do we want the position of DC to remain for political expedience, or we want to strengthen the systems of decentralizing functions of government? That is the conversation we should have. So whatever happens to this motion when time comes to vote, I expect that government will go back, they'll sit and reflect, what do we want to achieve? Do we want to continue rewarding party officials with positions, or do we want to strengthen the principles of decentralization? If that is the conversation, I think that it will be important that we are all magnanimous and reflect on the importance of decentralization. So, Mr. Speaker, as I stand here reflecting on the motion that has been moved, I would want to urge government. We have a government in place. The government must recognize which policies it wants to implement and how those policies will be implemented. If decentralization, which was adopted in 2002, has to be fully implemented, I think it will be important that a very frank conversation does take place. And I believe that our Honor the Vice President, leader of government in Parliament, has taken note of the valid submissions that have been made. Voting is another issue. Whether this motion pulls through or not is besides the point. The point is we've had a conversation in Parliament. And the conversation is that we need to ensure that the substructures called the Ward Development Committee, we need to ensure that the substructures work with other structures of governance at a very local level in a very transparent manner. Mr. Speaker, I support the proposal that we abolish this position and we ensure that the office of the District Administrative Officer is allowed to perform the functions of the District Commissioner. I thank you.